I just read your name. I know what that means.
I wondered if you would figure that out. I'm pretty confident you would.
That's one of them Easter eggs.
I can put them out there, you know that. I'm proud of you for recently finding the Iron Dog Podcast Network.
I found that Easter. I found that. I was like, that's fucking cool, man.
Damn
That's
straight,
the cool
buddy.
thing about shit like that. Like, you don't expect it. So then when you find it, it's like one of those moments where it's like, oh, that's fucking right on, man.
Well, and it just
Yeah,
proves to you
Turn my ceiling fan on.
that I know more about you than most people, so that's where that came from.
This is true. And I have the tattoo to prove that. Yeah,
Yes, you do.
there. Iron Dog. That's as old as us, as our friendship, I believe. I think it was around about the time that I put that on my arm that we were jamming.
Yeah, I remember when you did it.
Yeah. I have a lot of people over the years ask me if I'm in the Air Force because of that. They think it's wings.
It does look like that if you don't know what it is.
Yeah, this is true.
I think I was the only member of
Why
the
don't you
band
have
that
any
didn't have a
tattoos?
tattoo, and I still don't have a tattoo.
That's why I just said, why don't you have any tattoos? You never thought of getting one?
Yeah, so I'll explain that since you asked. So
Okay.
back in the day, tattoos
ask.
were a rebellious thing to do, right? Like be a heavy metal guitar player. People went and got tattoos because it scared people. It scared
Right,
their
exactly.
parents. So back then I could never figure out what I wanted on my body for the rest of my life. And I hate needles. So the combination of those two, I just never went and did it. And then it became socially acceptable and I was no longer interested. I have nothing against them at all. I love them.
Yeah.
I just, not for me.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you love, that was one of the reasons we had Jake on the show, because he wanted the story behind his traditional, I forget what it's called now, leg tattoo.
Saburi, I believe he said it is.
So he's gonna freaking smack me upside the head for not getting that right, but you know.
He'll
And hey,
kill
you
me
know,
too,
I'm gonna
'cause
give
he
you
said it
props
like
when I
15 times.
well, true, but when you had that dude on from Scotland, I
Ireland.
noticed in watching Ireland. I noticed
Dave's
in watching
from
bits of
Ireland,
that,
sir.
that the whole mic thing. Dave's not here. The whole mic thing was legit. Like, I picked it up on that. I'm like, oh no shit, that's true. When Dave was closer, it sounded like a fuller, voice than when he was away. So now you can see I've finally succumbed to your never-ending instruction.
Listen,
I'm
man.
putting the microphone closer to me, so you know.
I don't.
I know.
I don't say these things to criticize. I say these things to make a better end product. And I did run sound for several bands, and
You did.
I did build a recording studio twice.
I know.
So
you did. Yes, you did. I know.
everybody has commented on how great my sound is, and I always come to your defense and say he was the singer. He didn't play an instrument. He didn't even run the PA. He brought the PA. I ran the PA. So
right.
The one thing that Chris has going for him is he does not get mad when you give him constructive criticism. He follows it, and as you folks can see now, from here to eternity, you're going to hear a nice full Chris Dunham voice.
Exactly. It only took 13 episodes, man.
I think
I'm very coachable. I'm very coachable, but sometimes it takes a minute to get to the coaching to my head, and once I do that, then I realize it's that epiphany, like, oh shit. And I'm not afraid to say, you're right about a lot of things when it comes to music and recordings and sound and PAs and stuff, because that was one of the things you did. So yeah, you're right, man. You're fucking right. And I wrote it. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Tell me. No, you tell me. Well, I was gonna go down the path, like the music, our intro music. It's been in my head, and you know me well enough that I just won't write lyrics to music just for the hell of it. Like
Correct.
I just don't do that. It has to come into my mind, and I don't know how many other, you and I have talked about this, but I don't know how many other people out there that have been in the music world and wrote music and whatnot, and lyrics and melodies. To me, it's always comes to me in that twilight part of falling asleep, which has always been like just a motherfucker of it, because like all the stuff we wrote in Nemesis, unless I wrote it at practice, because there were some times where I walked in and you guys had just a riff going that automatically just something went off in my brain. Um, but for the most part, all the stuff that we would come up with that wasn't written live in our practice sessions would come to me in that twilight, like just about to fall asleep, and then you kind of drift into like the kind of unconsciousness, and then all of a sudden the muse starts waking up and starts. And I had that happen, man. Like shit you not, like 3 or 4 nights ago, I was in that zone. I was falling asleep, and then it popped in my head, and I had this whole fucking, I think it was like 8 lines, which would be the 2 verses and a chorus that was going to go to that music. And I kept repeating it in my head over and over again. And I was thinking, I should write this down. I'm like, no, I'll fucking remember it in the morning. Shit you not, dude. Woke up in the morning. It took me about half a day to realize. And I text you. And I'm like, motherfucker. Like, I had what I thought, right, which now is never going to be known, would have been the best fucking song lyrically to go with that, with the melody I was forming in my head, because it reminds me of the Cult a little bit, with that big sound of da-na-na-na-na, that you do, which is probably why the Cult popped up on YouTube Music, because our phones listen to us now, and they were doing one of their songs, Firewoman, like a reunion thing they're doing, and I'm like, holy shit, the dude can still sing. He's not as animated anymore because you can't be, but he can still hit those notes. I was impressed.
Oh yeah, they sound amazing. And a lot of the reason, a lot of the reason that Billy Duffy and I, so name dropping for those out there, Billy Duffy is the guitar player for the Cult. The reason that we have a lot of the same sound, we don't sound the same. One of the reasons that we have the same style of big sound is we were the only guitar player in the band. So you have to fill that sound out with something, right? We don't have a keyboard player to rely on, nor do we have a rhythm guitar player to rely on. No. So I will say that I wouldn't say he's one of my influences, but I would say I was influenced by him for sure, because their sound, to your point, is just fantastic.
Yeah.
Clean,
it's full.
To the point.
Yeah, and it's full. Yeah. And I've always, right. And I've always been impressed with just a 4-piece band. I'm obviously impressed with like bands like Rush and Triumph, because they're 3-piece, bands. But 4-piece bands, to be able to pull off and create a fat sound, where it's just going to be 4-piece. I just mean a singer not doing anything but singing, guitars playing all the leads and rhythms, a drummer playing the drums, and the bass keeping the beat.
Kind of like Nemesis.
I'm not talking about on the side stage. You got to, right, exactly. Not like side stage where you got a rhythm guitar player playing. Like I love Alter Bridge, but Miles and Mark Tremonti play off each other because Tremonti's the lead guitar player, and Miles does a lot of rhythm stuff. I mean, Miles is a fantastic guitarist from what I've seen live and shit. But I like being able to fill a space with really just 3 musical instruments. And build such a dynamic sound that the singer can step in and just kind of fill that final piece of that final space in there and just take it somewhere. I've always liked that. That's why I've always liked not having more than 3 of the members in a band. I think it clouds shit, and then you get more personalities. And I mean, I don't know, because I was never in. I think one band I was in had more than 4 people, but I was a short-lived band because none of us saw eye to eye. That was a bump in the road, I think, before or after Nemesis, I don't remember. But that's it. So what do you want to talk about today, Mr. Mike Michaels, legendary guitar player of Nemesis Rock and Roll Band?
Well, I was going to say something. What was I going to say?
Okay. I don't know.
I
don't know.
I was going to say.
What are you going to say, half?
I was going to say I agree with you on the only having 4 members in the band. Right. But there's a but in there.
Right. Yeah.
We were at the point where I was writing so many different guitar parts that I couldn't pull off live. and we didn't have John Paul Jones to play keyboards and bass guitar at the same time, Rick wasn't quite up to that caliber of player. True. Nobody is up to that caliber of player. I'm not dissing Rick in any way. He was a great bass player. But the reason that Led Zeppelin could get away with that is that John Paul Jones filled in those gaps. You didn't miss some of the guitars you missed if you were a freak like me and you knew their music inside and out. But my point is, our music was getting to that point where, just like I did on that intro music, there's 3 independent guitar parts all playing 3 different things at the same time, right? You can't. What do you do when you get on stage? I got 2 hands and 1 guitar.
But that...
I'm just defending Mark's
but that's
point.
The beauty of
he wants you to hear what he hears in his head, right? That's why those people are there.
Yeah.
And he probably pays them
that. And
he probably pays them $500 a night or something. You know, they're just hired guns.
Sure. Oh yeah, but that's one of those things that's nice about how you can record now too. Because back when we were doing our thing, it was still an 8-track, 16-track, 32-track at the most, right?
Correct.
And it's
24
evolved and exploded.
Actually, 24 was top back then.
Right.
You had to string tape machines together to get more than 24 tracks. I think you could do 2 together and get 48.
Yeah, probably.
We'll ask Tony when we have him on.
But that was the beauty of
he's a studio guru.
Yeah. There you go. Studio guru. Right on. So we do have for the listeners know, we do have a YouTube channel. I think is it live? If you go to Chris and Mike on YouTube.
I have not checked it out. Why don't you pull it up there, Maestro?
Let me see.
Chris is our statistician and all around Google guy. You got to have one of those nowadays.
You got to have one of those. I just hit Chris and Mike for some reason. It came up. There's a band called Chris Mike, which is funny.
Really?
Chris and Mike Show podcast. Yeah. Oh, maybe I should go to YouTube. That would probably be smart, Chris. Coughing. Don't want to cough in the microphone. Bad thing.
Yes.
Let's go to YouTube. And Chris and Mike Show. Chris and Mike Show. Because we're building it. Oh, come on. Spell it right, man. That would fucking be helpful.
Yes.
Sometimes my brain tells me what letters to hit. And then, for some reason it doesn't work.
The same thing happens to me, trust me. Hence my name today, which is a secret to everybody but us. Maybe.
Okay, so we're not live yet, but we're working on it.
Okay, yeah, so you can just walk me through that. So for our listening audience out there, we do have a YouTube channel coming. Chris is working on it, and
yes,
it's attached to my name because he's already a business owner, and we didn't want to mess things up. So I will finish that for him as soon as possible, and then we will have a YouTube channel. And
for us,
yes,
right.
You may even see me pop on there and
find our stuff. All this
play
stuff
a little
will be uploaded.
Yeah, I might even pop on there and play a little guitar for the people. One never knows when that might happen. Yes, I might pick you a little ditty.
There you go.
I've been told I can do that.
I like that. You can. Absolutely. You can do whatever you want because it's our YouTube channel. So, let it fly, man. Let it fly.
So the people that have followed us at Facebook, that's amazing. I think we just went over 300. I think we're at 307 or something.
Yes, we did.
Been getting a lot of compliments on the content, so thank you for everybody who's participating and giving us positive and constructive criticism. Both of them are accepted.
Like how I need to talk into the microphone and have it closer to my face.
Well, I think I made the point last week. There's a reason I chose you to be the singer of the band. It's because you got a good voice, and it really is doing you a disservice if the listening audience is not hearing that full voice, you know? I've been told I got a good voice and I can't carry a tune in a bucket, so.
You never did any backup vocals with Nemesis?
No, you
Was it
guys
always
wouldn't
just
let
me
me.
and Rick, or Rick and I?
Yeah, you guys wouldn't let me.
Oh, okay. Huh.
Jason would ask how many microphones we needed, and you guys would say 2. I was like, well, what if I wanted to say something? You would just come over and let me say something.
Yeah, exactly. I'd give you the mic. Hey, Mike, inject, drop your opinion.
I think I was too busy playing rhythm.
Back to the question. What did you...
And lead guitar and smoking cigarettes and getting high, and a lot of things were going on back then. Yep. It was a full-time job.
It was fun. What's the weather like there? What's the weather like there today? Because here we're getting like pounded with rain. We're gonna have like 1.5 inches over the next like 12 hours. It's been raining nonstop since yesterday.
Let me tell you what we've been through in the last, 72 hours. It was cold as fuck. There's no other way to put it. You think that hell is hot. Yep. It's not. It's frozen.
No other way to put it.
So.
Right. Well, that's why the Eagles were coming back when hell froze over, you know.
Correct. They couldn't have been any more correct. So in the last 72 hours, we've had negative 20 to 30 wind chill. And then it snowed, not a lot, but then it decided to warm up to just above freezing and rain all night. So in some places we had 1 inch of ice on the roads and the power lines in your house. Thank God we didn't lose our power. But driving
do you have
to
a
work.
Generator?
No, I do not. I should have bought it before.
You should get a generator.
Well, listen, man, before COVID, to get a whole house generator was about $6,000 to $7,000 for my house. It's more than doubled. Now they're about 13 to 15.
20?
Well, it's about 13 to 15 around here.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And while I have $13,000,
that's terrible.
I have other things that I would like to spend that $13,000 on.
Right.
I know that the last time that you knew me, I guess this is a little bit of what I wanted to talk about today. I was thinking the last time that you saw me was 15 years ago when we were going to put another band together. We jammed.
Right.
Was told by somebody that saw us before. Yeah. And we were told by Kevin, who saw us before in concert and in his back room, that we sounded as good or better than we ever had.
Yep.
Just in that short time. So
yeah,
I just got to thinking about that today. That was probably month number, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 into my recovery. So you saw me pretty much at the worst that anybody ever saw me, other than maybe Carrie, because I think Carrie took me out to lunch.
Oh, wow.
In the middle of that, when I was right in the middle of my addiction. I mean, I probably looked like death warmed over that day that I saw her, but yeah, you're one of the few people that actually saw me at my worst, for sure.
That's crazy. And the irony of that is I didn't know that. I didn't know you were in that you know me. Battle at the time. Yeah, I know you damn, and I'll add it. Everybody hides it, man. Unless you're me and just fucking, hey, you know, here you go, world. You know.
Well, I wasn't ready to admit it.
That's the trip. Yeah. Well, nobody is. It takes time. I'm an anomaly, man. You know, I got nothing. I learned a long time ago. It's rip that shit off like a Band-Aid. If you're going to love me, hate me, either way, it doesn't matter how or what I say, because you're going to love me or hate me. So I might as well not walk any fine line. Just be who I am, and you fucking deal with it, man.
And that's where I got to. So the way that I think of it is almost identical.
Yeah.
I did it. I can't undo it.
Well, good.
And if it saves one person from going as far as I did, then it's all worth it to talk about it.
Right.
You know? Because at the end of the day...
Agreed. 100%, man.
the only thing that I ever really, I'm not going to say I needed it, but it never hurt me and it always made music more enjoyable, was to smoke pot. I never had a problem with marijuana at all. You could take it away from me tomorrow, just like my employer did. And I went 9 years without ever touching it. That's not an addiction. So when we're talking about addiction and recovery, I want to make it very clear to the people that are listening, because I sound like I'm sending mixed messages, because I do get high and I enjoy it and there's nothing wrong with it and it's fucking legal. So I waited my whole life to be able to say that publicly, as much as I like to say that I'm a recovering addict.
Yeah.
Right. I said it on another podcast.
Right.
If you said that out loud 10 years ago, they'd put you in jail.
Yeah. Yeah. But I agree with that. It's now Nikki thinks marijuana is a gateway drug. And some people still have that mindset, which I get. And I respect that, because everybody's entitled to their own opinion. And you and I both know we're not going to disrespect anybody's opinion. We're going to value it and we'll have a conversation about it. And it is what it is.
No, we're going to disagree respectfully.
I never really smoked a ton of pot. Exactly. And I never really smoked pot at all. I did when my neck was going, and the last 6 months of that, I had a friend who here locally that had a connection with somebody that had the medical marijuana, because at the time medical marijuana was legal in Arizona. This was 2014, the end of 2013 to 14. So being an alcoholic, I can't take painkillers because I just can't. So I'm Advil and Tylenol. That's it. So when you have vertebrae in your neck that are not getting spinal fluid because it was fused at birth, and then it's just grinding, your two vertebrae are just grinding, and
I have that from my car
pain
accident.
of that, man, is just insane. I mean,
it's called degenerative disc disease.
Okay, so
yes, believe me, I know.
Right. So that shit's insane. Right.
Excruciating.
So if it wasn't for my buddy who had that connection, and
So those of you who see me not being able to sit still, that's a lot of the reason I do it. I got to move every now and then to crack my neck.
And this is, and that's the thing. And this is one of those things that I've never discussed publicly, just because kids don't know, but legit, they'd go to bed and I'd go out back and I'd hit that medical stuff, and I'd sit there and just let it, take the pain away. Legit.
It does
I could go
too.
to sleep without pain. And that's how I lived. Right. And that's how I lived the last 3 months before I had the ACDF surgery, where they went in to the base of my neck. Sometimes
that's what they wanted to do to me.
It's Peyton Manning surgery. Yeah. And it worked, man.
It did.
Absolutely was pain-free within a month or so after recovery. Yeah. Oh yeah.
I should have done it.
Full on.
I chickened out.
And then to your point, and to your point, I think the day, probably 2 or 3 months, 2 months or so after, once I finally was up and around, and then I remembered, oh shit, I still have that stuff that he gave me. I flushed it because I didn't need it anymore. So it's not so much an addiction like people think, and I think that's why it's legalized to the level that it is. And I don't think the NFL ever tests for it now, because it's such a recovery mechanism for the football players who just get their bodies beat to shit, every week, and they don't hit and practice. Go ahead.
I think that we should hammer that point home, that as a painkiller, I don't think people understand, because if you've never done it, there's so many misconceptions of what happens. I described the first time on another podcast, so I won't go deep into it, but I just remember saying, that's it.
Right.
I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop. It's like, when does it get bad? It doesn't get bad. Mm-hmm. And the paranoia that people feel, I think that's good for them. The reason that I don't have a lot of paranoia is because, it is. It took me a long time to come to terms with what that paranoia is. What that paranoia is it shit that's rattling around in your subconscious that until you get high, you don't even know it's there. It's the stuff that you've suppressed into the back of your mind, that you just lock that closet door and you don't deal with that shit. When you get high, that stuff comes out like, hey, we were here. and you were ignoring us, and now you can't because you're stoned. Right?
That's
I don't
awesome.
have a
I never
lot
looked
of
at it
that
that way.
because I do a lot of self-reflection every day, right? I meditate. I think about the things that I've done wrong. I think about the shit that I said wrong and how I'm going to handle it next time. I'm a fucking weirdo. A lot of people don't put that kind of time into their self-reflection. You and I have to, because we're recovering addicts, and to stay not addicted,
Yeah.
it requires a lot of mental focus on a daily basis that I don't think people put what kind of time that takes into perspective. But back to the painkiller side of it, if you don't like to smoke, go try some edibles. You know, I'm talking to the people who have never done it.
Yeah.
If you're afraid to do it, go buy yourself a bag of
Oh,
gummies and take a little tiny piece of it. You know, don't eat the whole thing. Cut it into a little tiny piece. Because once again, my body eats THC like there's no tomorrow. Chris will attest to this. My drummer and I used to smoke pot like it was going out of style. And this was the weak shit back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And neither of us were ever to the point where we were unable to function, were we?
Hmm.
Were you always able to hold a conversation with us like you are right now?
Uh-huh. Yep.
So
yep, absolutely.
It affects everyone differently. And the one thing that I came to the conclusion is that my body chemistry is as such that it just murders THC. It knows what to do with it, it processes it, and it gets rid of it, because I can get completely blown out, and 2 hours later it's like it never even happened. Right? Like there's no side effect at all. It's just like, oh fuck, we're sober again, you know. And sober is the wrong word. We're back to this reality or whatever you want.
Back to normal.
Back to normal. Sure,
and you know, oh yeah. No, I get it. And that's, you know, it'll, in 10 years from now, I mean, you look at where we've come since 1970 as a world. Look at where we've come since 2000 as a world. You know, so 10 years from now, every single state's going to have it legalized at some form. And I don't know about the NFL whether it's something they don't test for anymore. But like Rico Williams, right, badass running back that was drafted by the Saints, he was so transparent about smoking pot, and that's why he failed a couple drug tests, because they used to test for it. But it was all about recovery, and it was all about. I mean, you obviously watched football this weekend again, as did I, and so, you know, people just get lit up, man. I can't imagine playing football in, you know, -2-degree weather and getting just railed coming across the middle of the field, reaching for a pass and being completely exposed and just getting just lit up and sandwiched by two defenders coming at you full speed. That shit hurts.
Oh yeah.
And if they can use the marijuana as a way to alleviate pain and just recover quicker, then by all means, man, because you know they're using HGH and shit. You know they're using all kinds of stem cell stuff, because there's no fucking way Aaron Rodgers, as old as he is in football years, recovered that quickly from a total tear ACL to where he was throwing the ball and making moves with his legs, within 2 months after the surgery? There's no way.
Well,
unless there's something helping enhance that recovery. Yes.
Think back to, you know, you and I are about the same age, so think back to the 1980s, because that's probably the first time that you and I can really put into perspective, sitting down and watching sports or whatever. It was a big deal when a guy was 300 pounds on a team, right?
Yep.
Now everyone on both lines, every one of them is 300 plus.
Right.
How does that happen?
Yeah. And
are people getting
right?
Let me get here before you answer that.
It's government conspiracy.
Before you answer that, I like the government conspiracy. Let's put it even in a more crazy fucking perspective. Let's go all the way back to I'm a history nerd too. So the average soldier in the Confederate the average soldier in the Civil War on both sides, their weight was 125 pounds. The average soldier was 125 pounds in the Civil War. So we've
Yeah.
gone from a big
You know
badass
why?
dude. No, I do not know why.
No, because of the food, man. Think about it. All the food they ate back then, it was not manufactured. It was farm food. It was free range chickens. It was free range cows.
Oh yeah, they
None of
weren't
that shit
eating
was
processed
processed.
shit.
None of that shit
Yeah.
was man made. It was right. That's what I'm saying. So you take that to now, even in the last 30 years of our lifetime, you like kids, like you see it with with kids now, like they're developing younger ages because of all the fucking shit they're putting in food. All the crap, and it's like the eggs. Like we have farm fresh eggs versus store bought eggs, and I've done videos about this shit. The farm fresh eggs, man, the yolk is orange.
Yes.
The store bought eggs yolk is yellow. Well, what the fuck?
Pale.
Why?
Yellow.
Why is that? Well, because of the shit they pump in it. Their hormone, right? Paleo, yeah. The hormones and shit they put in that crap. The shells are thicker on farm fresh eggs as opposed to the store bought eggs. Like
Correct.
I can store bought egg, click, and it opens up. Farm fresh egg, shit you not. Same force, click, click, click. Finally, it opens up. It's a thicker shell. It cooks different. It keeps that orange color to it, whereas the store boughts go yellow. So I think it all has to do with what they've done to food and how it's now manufactured on a massive level. As opposed to the farm fresh shit. Because then you go into like the 80s, right? You'd have the big kids that would show up that were, a rarity, 6'2", 300-pound linemen, like you said. Those were rare, so they would just have all of those would be linemen, and everybody else would just be 6 feet tall, But now it's just insanity. I think it all comes down to food and how it's processed and how it's made.
So that's
and just the shit
that's
that
physically
goes along
making
with it.
people bigger.
I think so.
Just better
I think so,
nutrition,
because
science.
Nikki's a teacher. Well, but it's not necessarily better, right? Because whereas when we were growing up, girls wouldn't develop till like 13, 14 years old. It was an anomaly for a girl to start developing, showing, things when she was in 6th grade, right? And
Correct.
However, I don't know what the age is.
Yeah, it was weird to see a chick that had
Now
boobs in
you're
6th grade when you and I were kids.
Right. Right, but now it's commonplace. It's common. And that's all. It's got to be because of what they're putting in the food. Because where are they getting the hormones from?
Right.
Because that's what does that, right? Where are they getting the extra estrogen? Where are they getting the testosterone? It's got to be in what they're doing with foods and how they're manufacturing them. Because they're not doing it. They're not letting farmers farm anymore, right? They're selling all their shit up.
It's like supercharging their estrogen, and it's supercharging our testosterone.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Exactly. Like we bought a quarter cow. We've talked about this. And if I took store-bought ground beef versus the cow we bought ground beef with just grass-fed, no bullshit, you put it on the counter, the difference of the color is insane. The difference of smell is insane. The store-bought smells like rotten. Now that we have the real deal, Nikki will actually enjoys the ground beef more from the dead cow that we bought than the one we get from the store because of the taste difference in the texture and the odor. The odor was just alarming to me because
absolutely, because the shit you're buying at the store is like just a week out from being no good, right? Or a month out from being no good. Your stuff is a year, 2 years out from being no good.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That's the difference. My brother does the same.
And I still have. I think. Yeah. We've had it. Fuck. We should have your brother on the show. We've had it.
He'd probably love it.
I don't know. 4 or 5 months now. Yeah, 4 or 5 months now. We still have meat, and I give some to Sky and Michael Eugene Fry Jr., her fiance, and like here, have some steak or have this. It's just it's a trip. I think that's what it comes down to. It's just the way the government is now in control of. And I'm not saying that as a conspiracy theory. Oh, but legitimately,
no.
Every farmland, every farmer, right? They're
it's being bought up by corporate.
Now, right? I forget
Monsanto,
right? And then they're doing this, and they're doing the seeds, like they're making I forget.
Yeah, that's Monsanto.
It's okay. Okay. Oh, okay, gotcha. It's like there was something. What was it? Brussels sprouts. Brussels sprouts when we were kids were fucking disgusting, man. Like nasty ass things. They smelled. They were fucking. The texture was just
That's
horrific.
because
Nikki and
nobody
I were
knows how
talking
to
about
cook them.
because I like Brussels sprouts, right? But I
You
like
got to
Brussels
know how to
sprouts
cook
now,
them.
and
I
that's
do
one of the
too.
things that she's true. But she also learned that they fucked with the DNA of the Brussels sprout to make it more enjoyable and edible, which
Really?
science can do now, which is so certain things are cool. Technology, yeah, this part of technology is cool, right? We're doing this. You're in Pontiac, Illinois. I'm in Gilbert, Arizona. We're having a fucking live conversation without any glitches, right? So
Correct.
some technology is really cool, but when they start fucking with the crops and let's make better seeds and it's like you're fucking with evolution, man. And
Well,
once you start doing that, it's a slippery slope to chaos.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I'd actually, living in the middle of corn country, I'd like to get a farmer on here that knows way more than I do, because I'm going to talk
That would be cool.
I'm going to talk my 10% educated fucking nonsense and say what I know about Monsanto is that if you're planting those seeds and those seeds get blown over, even in pollination, to another private farmer, and they find those seeds in the next farm, they will sue that guy for everything he's got.
Right.
1 in 10
Right.
Indian farmers commit
Right. I've heard
suicide
that. That's
every
right.
year because Monsanto takes everything they have. I don't understand how somebody can patent
That's crazy, man.
what keeps us alive on this planet. No one should own a patent on seeds.
Agreed.
That blows my mind.
No.
And I've heard this story
absolutely not.
again and again.
Yeah, me too. It's money.
It's money.
Man. It all comes down to money. It all comes. That's like you're not supposed to have monopolies with certain things, right? Cox Communications is the monopoly in Arizona when it comes to internet, and they suck. I mean, they absolutely
Mediacom
suck. Like
here.
I used
you
to
have
write
Cox,
checks to
we
them.
have Mediacom.
Yeah. It suck. Yeah. And I used to send their checks. I'd spell it COCKS, and they'd still cash them every single time.
So here's a good example of where technology is good, because you were able to write them off. I was able to write Mediacom off because they're not the only fish in the sea now. You got Fire Sticks, you have YouTube TV,
Right.
you have Fubo. So technology in that respect really started to bust up some of those monopolies, because whether people want to admit it or not, they had a monopoly for the last 30 years. They were a monopoly when I lived out there. Cox was your only option if you wanted cable or internet.
And unfortunately, where I'm at right now, that's still supposedly Verizon has the plug-in in the wall thing we're looking into. But for the most part, Cox is just the dominant force in the West Coast, which just you're not supposed to have monopolies, man. And here you go.
And to continue to do what you want to do with the
food,
podcast,
the seeds, all that kind of shit.
You need a cable. I'm on DSL right now and I'm struggling. So that's why I'm going to the fiber optic.
Right.
But to reel this thing all the way back.
Starlink. Michael Eugene Fry Jr. Yeah.
No, go ahead. I want to hear about the Starlink.
Reel it in.
No. I want to hear about
Michael Eugene Fry Jr. has. Oh, no, I'm going there.
Yeah,
Michael Eugene Fry has a Starlink. He had it where he lived in Black Canyon City, so they brought it with him. He brought it with him when they moved into the addition over here. And we had internet struggles this week where it was like 4 hours in the morning and like 6 hours at night. Some of our neighbors were gone all day without it. So I told them, I'm like, we need to figure out how to hook this shit up and just, get rid of Cox entirely. And then now it's raining. So obviously nobody's getting on the roof this weekend, but it was badass. Like he never had a problem. It was super lightning fast. It would move. It moves as the satellite moves in the sky. But it was legit. We just got to find somebody who can hook it up now, and just get away with Cox completely, because it's fucking Cox sucks, man. It just sucks.
So how does it work like right now when you're having thunderstorms, and is it like DirecTV or Dish where you lose your internet signal during a storm? I wouldn't think Elon would let that happen, but
that's a good. I don't know.
Well, you need to do some investigating on that
because we don't have it hooked up, and it wasn't. Yeah.
Oh,
Well, that's
I
just a
got
matter of
you.
asking Michael Eugene Fry Jr. because he's the one that. Yeah.
Okay.
That's Sky's fiance, so it's his. He has it.
I got
We
you.
just when he moved over here, we didn't hook it up because we had Cox. But we have those little Eero boxes too, EERO. They're different spots of the house that kind of help build a force field of Wi-Fi. Like when I'm out in the when I let the chickens out, I still pick up the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, that's
Which
what's running this podcast right now
I'm at the right.
in
So
my house too.
I'm at the not the okay. I'm not the furthest point northeast of my acre, but I'm kind of in the front of it, and then the chicken coop is all the way back in the southwest corner, and so I can still pick up the Wi-Fi, which is cool. So I don't lose it till I get like 2 houses down, because I have the garage door app on my phone, and I can open my garage door. Once I turn the corner, it picks up the Wi-Fi. There you go.
No, I was gonna
There
say
you go.
you were talking about the government getting involved in, letting Monsanto own a patent on basically our survival. I equate that to
Right.
all the years that they allowed marijuana to be illegal, and then we had not that long ago the opioid crisis where every doctor in America, if you bumped
Right.
your elbow, was handing out painkillers because the government was getting kickbacks in the way of lobbyists in Washington from big pharma for selling all these opiates, and they knew damn well what they were doing. And at the same time, these same people that people worship, whether they want to believe it or not, if you have any faith in politicians, you're worshiping them, because I have zero faith in any of them fucking assholes. They are so far removed from you and I that they're living the good life, and you and I are out here trying to survive. George Carlin told us a long time ago, this system is broken. It's a big club and you ain't in it.
Yeah,
and I believed him.
Absolutely.
So when it comes to
it's the Good Boy Network, man.
Absolutely. So I got criticized a few times this week from people who are obviously in the Trump cult, and I'm fine with that. You've been indoctrinated. I'm sorry.
Right.
I feel for you.
Yeah.
I don't like Joe Biden either. I just fucking hate Donald Trump that much because he's a fucking bully. And let me talk about that just for 2 seconds.
Yes.
I'm not scared of him as a bully.
Go ahead, man.
I got a couple people actually saying, he's a bully, bully. It's not that I'm afraid of him. I don't like assholes. He's a fucking asshole. I don't like assholes. I have never in my life made fun of somebody that could not defend themselves. He makes fun of people who can't defend themselves all the time. They're not physically there. And then he'll get things wrong.
No.
I'm not going down this road again. I'm just saying, this is where I'm coming from. I hate them all.
No.
This system is broken. Broken. Broken.
Oh, it is.
I don't know what the answer is.
Absolutely.
This country is run by corporations. They are merely puppets.
Yeah, and see that's and see that's where the problem lies. I think instead of them being as weird as it is to say, the country needs a true politician again. Somebody that is because back in it's understood that presidents don't run the country. Congress and Senate do.
Sure.
But like your point, you think Trump's a bully and Biden's a fuck. So, and there's people that agree with that, disagree with that, which is completely fine. We have no problem with that. But if Clinton, to me, Clinton was one of the best presidents we ever had. Okay. Yeah, he diddled Monica, but what he did was nothing
he's
the
last president I liked
done before. He just got caught. Right. He just
Who
got
gives
caught.
a shit about? I don't give a fuck what he does in his private life.
I don't either. I mean, it wasn't private because it was in the White House, but you get what I'm saying. But what my point is this:
he lived there.
You had Clinton as a politician that could, right? But he appealed to both sides of the fence, so he could bring the Republicans and the Democrats together to make whatever change needed to be made for the better of the country. It wasn't necessarily just to line his own pockets and to make profits when he left. Whereas Trump's a businessman, we know that, but he was not a self-made businessman. He was a trust fund baby businessman, which we talked about. Biden is nothing more than riding on the coattails of Obama. Whether you agree with that or not,
he's a moron.
He's not in touch with this, right? But because he's not in touch with the world at all. You look at his stuff that his staff posts.
He's got 50% dementia, dude. He don't even know where he's at. Which proves the president means nothing.
Exactly. It's run by Congress and Senate. We need a 45-year-old, somebody with a very creative mind that understands how politicians and politics work.
We couldn't agree more.
The people, not to the advantage of those. And then you have to go back to the term limits of the Senate and Congress. That shit needs to be stopped after 2 or 3 terms. You can't be president more than 8 years, but you can live in the Senate and the Congress until the day you die once elected.
That's bullshit.
That's the other thing that's wrong with the country. Right.
Agreed.
That's the other thing that's wrong with the country is there need to be term limits on all the states and the Congress and the Senates and all that kind of jazz. And you need somebody young that is not afraid to speak his mind, but does so in a very prolific way that's not going to pitch the entire world against him and cut it down the line, 81 million this way, 81 million that way. But then when shit hits the fan, you can protest. Everybody can protest. That's our right as humans. That's our right of being American. We can protest, but you need to protest in a way that is
peacefully,
fair and non-violent.
Yes. Exactly.
Like in the 60s. The 60s, say what you want about the 60s, man, here, peace and love, but lots of things changed in the 60s because of I don't know, I want to say fruitful protests, but just there was protests that were meaningful.
They knew how to do it and get things accomplished.
Racism and segregation. Right. That's what nobody's teaching anybody that nowadays anywhere. I have a friend, and this is the chaos that we're building. This is what we're building in the world. I have a friend whose son was in a classroom doing nothing, minding his own business. He had a little issue with reading. He went and asked the teacher a question. I just found this out yesterday. It blew my mind. Asked the teacher a question, went back to his desk. This bully, who's an asshole, walked up to him, started giving him shit, calling him names. Her son said, "Just leave me alone." And his buddies had set this up. They filmed it. The fucking dude started wailing on him to the point that he broke his nose and knocked him out. He was 12 desks away and 27 feet from his chair, while the Marine Corps Reserve teacher in the room, after he knocked this kid unconscious and turned around to walk back to his desk, you heard the teacher call his name. What the fuck?
Unfucking believable.
That goes back to the home life. That goes back to home life. That goes back to the parents having to work 2 jobs and never being home to be able to guide their children in the right direction of life. I mean, I don't know the whole story behind the other kid, but I know the story behind my client and my friend. And she's not someone that is not involved and doesn't care and doesn't teach and doesn't mentor and raise her children right. But a bully's a bully because nobody's there paying attention to him. He's acting out. It's a cry for help. It's like suicide. People who commit suicide, there's an underlying issue and they're crying for help.
A bully is a bully because they're picking on somebody that can't fucking defend themselves. I can't stress this enough.
Right.
You and I have said, you and I, Scott, Rick, we said horrible. And I've made this example a million times. And every friend that's in my circle to this day, we have said horrible things to each other. Horrible. Because we can take it. We know who we are. And that's how we like to have fun. Right? We can say, hey, quit being a fucking moron. Quit being a R word. We can say that to each other. You don't, and I don't, have never walked up to a person with Down syndrome and said, hey, you fucking retard. That's never happened. No. That's not how I was raised. And when I say somebody's a bully, that is my point. Donald Trump preys on people who can't defend themselves. That doesn't make you a tough guy. That makes you an asshole.
Agreed.
There's no other way to put it.
Absolutely.
And I don't want an asshole running my country. If you do, or somebody else does, that's their opinion. I'm entitled to my opinion.
I agree.
This is our show. You're going to get my opinion. You're not always going to agree with it. That's fine.
I want your opinion. I want your opinion.
I know you do.
And the thing is, dude,
I'm talking to the American public and the world at large. You and I agree on a lot of things, and I want to go someday when we got a lot more time.
Right.
You and I you have no idea how much I agree with your view on politics, and maybe that is the system. Maybe you say you can only run for office from 35 to 65, and that's it, and you're fucking done.
Yeah. You
got to go do something else after that.
Yeah, because you can't. Right, because you can't be a president unless you're at least 34 years old. Right?
I think you got to be 35.
I think is what it is. Yeah, 35, and you got to be a U.S. citizen.
Correct.
So there's no reason why they can't be like, hey, you can't be president if you're over 65. If you're over 65, you're retired. You're considered, you're AARP now. Like, fuck off. Go live on a beach.
I'm being generous.
You should not be running the country.
I'm being generous. I'm saying that's the last time you can run. So if that's your first term, you only get one term.
No, I don't. No, I think cap that shit at 60. If you're 60, 60 years old, you can still run. But if you hit 65 during your 4 years, that's it. You're done. You can't run for re-election.
I think that's the way you maybe possibly fix
this. This is such a good conversation, and this is such
I know
a good
you got to go, dude.
But I got to wrap it up. We got 10 minutes.
That's something we got
to do our thing. We got to do our thing.
I know. That's something I want to unpack later on. So that'll be a good topic for later on.
Yeah, no, we will. But I definitely want to do we want to get to our influences? Do you think we can do that in 10 minutes, or should we leave it for the next show?
No, we can do it.
What? Guess what?
Yeah, we can do it.
Okay. Okay. Want me to start with mine? Because I got it pulled up. Okay.
I don't need mine pulled up.
So this is Mike and I's musical influences because I write everything, so
I know.
And you'll tell I write it because when I start reading it. So first and foremost for me is The Doors, because of Jim Morrison's love of poetry. I considered myself a poet, so that opened that door for me. And when I realized that writing is a form of poetry and the way lyrics and rhyming and shit like that, that's just why Morrison was like, oh yeah, that kind of opened the door to The Doors for me because of his poetry and whatnot. I know you'll agree with this, Andrew from Mother Love Bone. I loved his showmanship and his charisma and his ability to capture the audience in the palm of his hand. And no matter what I saw him on, it was always the presence that he had that you were drawn to him. Like, regardless of what he was doing, he was the focal point without even being the focal point. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Real quick, you gave me an appreciation above and beyond what I already had for both those bands. So I'll give you credit for that. I did a lot more listening to The Doors and Mother Love Bone after I met you, for sure. My dad introduced me to The Doors. I knew about Mother Love Bone. You gave me an appreciation on a whole new level for both those bands. So thank you. Oh,
right on. Yeah, you're welcome. And then just kind of a general influence was country music, but it was country music from 75 to like 80, 81, 82, because that's what was always playing in my household in the mornings. That, like, you get up, go to the kitchen, that's what she had on the radio. KNIX, W. Stephen Martin, one of the great disc jockeys that ever graced the airwaves. It was just that. And then Elvis, one of my first records I ever got for a present was Elvis. I still have it. It's in my record collection. I should pull it out for next show. And it was cool because it has songs on it, but actually had interviews with him. So that kind of opened up the world to me, as far as it's holy shit. This is, Elvis Presley, and here he is talking on the same record that he has songs being played. That was kind of cool. The Eagles' The Long Run album was my first real introduction to mainstream rock and roll with harmonies and things like that.
That's awesome.
Absolutely love their song "In the City." Like, "In the City" is one of my all-time favorite Eagles songs, and a lot of people are like, what?
Me too.
But I love how it starts with the right? Somewhere on the horizon. Right? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Love that. That's just that's one of those.
I'm with you.
It's that fucking soul. It's that driving just.
Oh, if you're driving down the road and that song comes on, you're going 5 miles an hour or 10 miles an hour faster instantly.
And you turn it up, man.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the gist of it. What a lot of my writing in later years, the music I've listened to, were those things. Counting Crows and Goo Goo Dolls, ironically enough, opened up my brain for weird things from a
Great
creative
songwriters.
standpoint, and oh yeah, and I think that's what it was, because no matter what I was working on that popped in my head, if I had that in the background, then all of a sudden a song idea would come in. And Alice in Chains too. Like when I wrote Nothing Man, I was actually scheduling, setting up the lights for a play in college, and I had Alice in Chains playing over the theater music. And shit you not, I was in the lighting booth, and Nothing Man just came off my hand like it was fucking nothing.
I love that song.
Rooster was playing in the background. And fuck yeah, I did a whole little short play about Rooster and the four different personalities of Vietnam veteran while that song was playing. Because if you look into that song, you can pull out four different angles of how you can look at that, and it was cool. I got an A in that presentation, so there's that. What about you, my friend?
All right, so mine are gonna throw you for a loop, because number 5 for me, I won't go in any order. There's no order, but I would not be a guitar player if it wasn't for the guy that taught me to play guitar. So kudos to Bob Moulton, who saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. And I'm going to give him credit, because I wanted to quit so many times because I never thought that I was going to be good.
Yeah.
And I don't know what he saw in me. And I guess I've never really even talked to him. I probably should hit him up and say, hey, what was it? He might not even remember, but to have somebody believe in me when I didn't even believe in myself was amazing. So I kept pedaling my bike across town and taking lessons. So thank you to him. I wouldn't be half the guitar player I am today. Yep. So number 2 would be the same reason. When I moved to Phoenix, I wanted to learn how to play the blues. I thought I knew how to play the blues, and this will be a name you'll recognize. I started going to the Blue Note in Scottsdale and seeing a guy named Chuck Hall, who had just recently split from the Brick Wall.
Oh, okay.
Used to be Chuck Hall and the Brick Wall, but when I started seeing him, he was his solo band as a 3-piece. And I went up one night. I was only 19 when I started going there. We'll tell these stories later, but I walked up to him all nervous, and I was like, dude, I really want to learn how to play the blues, and you're fucking amazing. I want to take lessons. So I'm single-handedly responsible for him teaching guitar again at that moment in time, because he wasn't taking students, and I just pestered him week after week.
Right on.
So my next one would be...
Nice.
Yeah, I love playing the blues. So my next one would be Jimmy Page, just for the simple fact that still now to this day, I listen to Led Zeppelin and I hear things that, even though I've heard every song at least 1,000 times, I still hear new things. So next would be Eddie Van Halen, for sure. He redefined. Awesome. I would say Jimmy Page and Jimi Hendrix are tied. I can't leave Hendrix off this list. But all 3 of those are like the trinity of rock and roll. Hendrix, Van Halen, and Jimmy Page.
Yeah.
So, and then my number 1 influence,
which
would be you. Because without you, there would have been no Nemesis.
And that's the same, because
we got to live our dream because of each other.
And that's the thing. I think the beautiful thing, that's my sentiments exactly. We were able to do what we did because it's that unique thing. The only band, and I'm not comparing us to this band because they were worldwide famous, but In Excess, if you watch the In Excess story, the way Michael Hutchence was with the rhythm section of the band, which is everybody but him, they would give him a song and he would go through his notes and he'd find a melody and it would fit. I didn't know, there was no real history about bands back then when we were together. But when I saw that story of Michael Hutchence, because dude was a great showmanship, great singer, songwriter. But when I saw that scene in the movie, like, holy shit, that's exactly how Mike and I used to do what we do. He would have a riff and I'd have my journal, and then this would fit or that would fit, or I'd come into practice, he'd be jamming on something, and I'd just something would just roll off my tongue, or pen, whatever.
You used to show.
We just build songs like that. And
Chris used to show up with like folders full of, this is before cell phones and iPads, kids. Mm-hmm. So he would show up with folders
Right.
and notebooks full of song ideas,
Yep.
poems, written word idea. I mean, these
Yep.
were volumes of shit. This wasn't like he
Mhm.
showed up with a legal pad and started writing,
Yeah.
you know. This guy showed up with like a suitcase
No,
full of shit the
no.
first time we came to practice. He's like, yeah, I wrote a book and I wrote a couple
exactly. Well,
spoken word things.
Yeah. I have one copy of Welcome to My Mind left. I gotta find it. I tried to get my buddy Neanderthal. He has a DAT. So I gave him the DAT. I got the master, and it was so just fucking clusterfucked. He couldn't pull anything out of it. But I still have the cassette tape. One cassette tape left, maybe two. That if somehow I could figure out how to get that downloaded digitally, I think that would be something fucking badass to throw up on iTunes and just see where it went. You know,
Absolutely.
Welcome to My Mind. It was fucking. I love that. It captured a really cool part in my life where my creative side was just off the charts. So,
what's the one that you and I did together in my apartment?
It was good.
We did one in my 8-track studio when I first put that studio together. I think that's what it was. That's why that sounds familiar.
Maybe it was part two of that. Maybe it was. Maybe, yeah. Either that or part two of it. I've got to find it. And I'll get it. I got to figure out how to. I know you can digitally. You can send shit away to Kodak now. They'll digitally download it into an audio file. You know, so I may try that just to see. My fear is if they lose it, because then I'm fucked.
Yeah, so I finally found a place to take that stuff you sent me to.
Yeah. Oh, right on.
So
let me know what comes out of that.
All right. I know you got to go, bro. So we will let you go to your
I got to
meeting.
go. I got to go. I hate cutting this one off. This was a good conversation.
It's all good.
Right.
We're going to do another one next week.
Thank you for joining us. He's right. You're right. He's Mike. I'm Chris. This is the Chris and Mike Show. Facebook, Instagram, and soon to be YouTube. Be safe.
Be safe. Be kind to each other.
No one's alone. If you need help. Exactly.
Thanks for tuning in.
If you need help, reach out. You're never alone in any battle that you have. Never alone.
True story.
Have a great day, my friend. Always a pleasure seeing you.